The Israeli Air Force is crushing Hezbollah's arsenal and capabilities and eliminating its key personnel, including the head of their missile and rocket array. In response, Hezbollah has expanded the circle of fire to the center of Israel, as alarms were also heard in Tel Aviv over the last 24 hours. But I'm happy to be able to tell you that the missile fired at Tel Aviv was intercepted using the David Sling air defense system. And meanwhile, the IDF spokesman in Arabic had a message for the residents of South Lebanon, telling them, for your safety, do not return to your homes until further notice. Reports out of neighboring Syria indicate that Israel attacked military strikes of pro-Iranian militias and Hezbollah in the west of the country. But while all of this attention is focused on the northern arena, the IDF is continuing its campaign to crush Hamas in Rafah. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 355th day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all its evil terror proxies in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. But guys, before we start, please take a minute and look for the subscribe button and click on it so that you will never miss an episode of Boots on the Ground. To begin, air raid sirens sounded at 6:30 a.m. in Tel Aviv and the Sharon region. The missile fired from Lebanon followed just a few hours after the IDF attacked in Hezbollah strongholds of southern Beirut, and it was the first time ever that a missile was fired directly at the center of Israel from Lebanon. It was intercepted by the David Sling air defense system, and the Home Front Command issued instructions that classes would be held in schools as usual. This means most other businesses and public offices would also return to normal. He also announced that the police are collecting the debris from this missile so it can be studied, as is the usual procedure. Reports of the event soon appeared in regional media portals, including the Saudi TV channel El Hadet, which speculated that the target of the missile attack might have been the Glilot camp. This portal also reported that the IDF strike on Hezbollah, which continued through the night and into Wednesday morning, included an attack on a Hezbollah weapons depot in a town of El Jia in Lebanon, which is about 20 kilometers south of Beirut. This follows the significant escalation of the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah in recent days, during which rocket barrages were launched towards Haifa, Kiryat, Yokneam, Carmel, Nazareth, the Jezreel Valley, and many other communities all over the Galilee region. Around noon on Tuesday, reports surfaced that Israel has assassinated Ibrahim Kobeissi, also known as Abu Musa, the head of Hezbollah's missile array, in a targeted attack in the Dahia neighborhood of southern Beirut. The IDF spokesman announced that at the time the Air Force hit the building where Kobeissi was located, several other key commanders in Hezbollah's missile and rocket array were also present. These men can therefore be presumed to have been perished along with him. About 11 hours after the IDF announcement, Hezbollah issued a statement admitting that it was true. According to the IDF, Kobeissi commanded Hezbollah's various missile units, including the precision missile unit. Over the years and during the war, he was responsible for launches towards the Israeli home front. He was much more than a field commander. He was also the central node in a network of knowledge and information vital to the functioning of the Hezbollah rocket and missile forces. He knew all the passwords to all the systems. He knew where all the ammunition was stored and which launchers could fire which rockets, and much more. All of that knowledge, training, and experience are now lost to Hezbollah, and it's not clear who can replace him. The attack on the 6-story building he was when the Air Force hit him was in the El Rubiri area of Dahia. As mentioned, Kobeissi was attacked with his men, and the goal was to punish those responsible for firing missiles into the central region of Israel and hopefully degrade Hezbollah's ability to keep doing so. Israeli sources said that Kobeissi was subordinated to Nasrallah only 3 days ago, and he was meant to replace some of the other senior Hezbollah military commanders who have recently been removed from the battlefield. On a personal note, I almost feel sorry for the guy who is probably on his way right now to a meeting with Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah so he can be told he's next in line to take over this position. On the other hand, I also wonder who that could be, because Nasrallah is rapidly running out of competent subordinates who he can try and put in positions of authority in his organization. With that in mind, let's do a quick review of some key events in the recent past. In the past 2 months, two of the most senior military officials who were part of the founding generation of the terrorist organization back in the early 1980s were eliminated. At the end of July, Farouk Shukar, known in Israel as Hezbollah's chief of staff, was taken out of the battlefield by an airstrike in southern Beirut. Then, last week, Ibrahim Akil, the head of Hezbollah's operations team, was assassinated along with at least 16 other senior commanders of the Radwan Force, Hezbollah's elite commando unit. And yesterday's attacks in Dahia, which took out Ibrahim Kobeissi, are the 5th time that the IDF has attacked the Hezbollah stronghold since this war began. The first attack was aimed at senior Hamas official Saleh El-Arouri. After him, as mentioned, Farouk Shukar and Ibrahim Akil were eliminated, and as mentioned yesterday, an attempt to take out Ali Karachi, and we don't know if that attempt was successful or not at the moment. This attack also came amidst a heavy bombardment by Israel of Hezbollah targets all over Lebanon, including civilian homes where rockets and cruise missiles are being stored. This campaign has already been very successful in degrading Hezbollah's much-feared arsenal of rockets and missiles, with some American intelligence officials estimating that Hezbollah has been set back 20 years in terms of its military power. It can be estimated that this stage of the campaign might take another 6 to 10 days, but the Air Force has already done tremendous damage to Hezbollah in the past 3 days. According to the Israeli security officials, the Air Force will continue the campaign at the current levels of intensity for about another week, and at that point, there can be no doubt that Hezbollah will find its capabilities are greatly reduced. But this air campaign didn't just happen. It is a result of 18 years of intelligence works, training, observation, training surveillance, training, and more training. Having been deployed to the north with my reserve units after October 7th happened, I can tell you that the ground forces of the IDF have also been training and preparing to play their part in this battle when the time comes. Let all of Israel's friends and enemies take careful note of what I just said. In any case, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on these developments going forward. So please keep helping us by spreading the truth, share our videos, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also stay up to date in real time about what is happening in Israel by visiting our website at tbnisrael.com/news to receive regular updates. To continue with a brief comment about the war in the north, Israel must not get ahead of itself. This battle has just begun, and despite some impressive early successes, there are many difficult days ahead. We must be modest and sober-minded. There can be an unexpected development, what is sometimes called a black swan event. At any moment, and just like that, everything can change. It happened before, including in the 2006 Second Lebanon War, where an Israeli missile mistakenly hit a civilian area, and much of the political support Israel had from the Americans and Europe evaporated almost instantly. Having said that, it is important to emphasize it was the security establishment that pushed for the center of gravity to be moved to the north. Let me explain for a moment what is happening militarily. The pager and walkie-talkie attacks, which are attributed to Israel, was not an initiative but a circumstance. It was followed by the assassination of Ibrahim Akil and his senior Radwan Force commanders, which was a continuation of the standing policy of the IDF. It is the IDF that is now dictating the pace and the policy with the approval of the political echelon. The fact that Radwan Forces has lost its senior commanders as well as some of its juniors greatly reduces the threat of Radwan's invasion of the north of Israel, ensuring that another October 7th style attacks does not take place. This is the first step towards the strategic goal of allowing the residents of the northern communities of Israel to return to their homes. Between the border and the Litani River, there are almost no Radwan forces today, and most of Hezbollah's above-ground military infrastructure has also been destroyed, so this threat is on its way to being removed as well. The rocket and missile threat remains. The IDF and the Air Force are investing their energy in the strategic threat posed by the precision missiles, the heavy missiles, and the surface-to-air missiles and the radar guidance systems which threaten our air superiority. At this time, there is no attention being spared for short-range rockets, at least not by the Air Force, although the artillery is probably shooting at the source of these rocket attacks. On Monday, Hezbollah suffered the most powerful attack ever launched by the Air Force. More than 2,000 targets were attacked and destroyed. Thousands of missiles and rockets were destroyed along with the launchers. This is a significant erosion of Hezbollah's capability, but it is still far from the final goal. Yes, we need to return to modesty here. The amount of planes and weapons that took off on Monday and the number of missiles and bombs that were dropped on the ground is unprecedented, and Hezbollah's ability to hit strategic targets accurately or to launch heavy missiles deep into Israel was seriously damaged. However, it is my duty to inform you that this is far from the loss of 50% of their strategic weapons that a very respectable political official who briefed reporters talked about yesterday. It is also important to emphasize that this is a process which can be compared to peeling an onion. The first layers have already been peeled. We are getting closer to the core, but there are probably some tears that will come to our eyes before this is over. It should also be emphasized that in a situation like this, it is very important to climb the escalation ladder as quickly as possible, overwhelming our enemies before they can effectively reach the last strike and keeping them on the back foot. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on these developments going forward. So please continue to spread the truth and really support the activities of TBN Israel so that we can continue to produce up-to-date and detailed quality content about what is happening in Israel. If you want to receive more videos like this one, please consider making a financial donation by going to our website at tbnisrael.com/give or clicking the donate button on YouTube. While all the attention is on events in the north, it is important that we will not forget that there still is a war in the south against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The IDF is crushing the last remnants of Hamas in Rafah. And on Tuesday evening, the IDF revealed records and communications of the Nahal Brigade soldiers operating there in recent weeks. These recordings included encounters with armed terrorists and guerrilla warfare. During the fighting in the area, the Nahal soldiers located weapons, ammunition, cartridges, radios, vests, and more. I will say once more that it is amazing how much military equipment, including weapons and ammunition, the IDF has found in the Gaza Strip that was meant to be used in attacks against Israelis. This is where most of the money raised by the so-called charities and meant to provide the needs for the Palestinian civilians was spent on. It also can be assumed that money sent to Gaza by the United Nations and several world governments also got stolen by Hamas so they could spend it on death and violence instead. The fighting in the Gaza continues, and especially the IDF is currently busy every day establishing positions on the Netzar corridor and the Philadelphia corridor. The demolition of the Hamas tunnel network is also proceeding, and we will continue to report on what is happening in this sector. So guys, please continue to spread the truth, share and follow us, and take a minute to click on the subscribe button so that you will never miss an update of Boots on the Ground. One last story for today comes from Syria, where earlier this month an opposition group reported an extensive attack aimed at an Iranian site in the vicinity of Masaif. According to the reports from these opposition groups, the attack then focused on a research center that was used to develop advanced weapons. Following this, it was published in the New York Times that commando forces had destroyed a Hezbollah missile production facility. This is one more example of the fact that the soldiers of the IDF are true heroes who protect the entire world from barbarism and the evil extremist Islamic organizations that want to spread hatred, death, destruction, and oppression all over the globe. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on these events going forward. So please continue to help us spread the truth by subscribing to this YouTube channel, sharing our content, and following us on social media. Most importantly, because this is a spiritual war, unite in prayer. So pray for the peace of Israel, the peace of the IDF soldiers that are risking their lives every day on multiple areas in this region. Pray for the quick return of the abductees to their homes, to their families. Pray for the northern residents of Israel to return to their homes. And let's unite in prayer for the peace of Jerusalem. And together, God will win this war.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel.